Thank you very much for this introduction. My idea was today to speak about the regions, the importance of regions, and seen from the point of the socio-economic development. So I am from an enterprise organization of Brussels, and as the introducer told you, my main job is the lobbying towards the public sector, but for a very large type of activities, and there we have to defend the idea: how is a policy in a metropole like Brussels possible when you take into account that there is a federal structure and a European structure? Okay. So, is new regionalism a way to promote socioeconomic development? It's my first question. So the idea is there a difference when you work on a regional level than when you work on, for instance, a federal or a national level? Does this make a difference? Well, we work together with an institution, which is an institution of econometrics in Basel, and it's called BAC Basel, Economic Research and Consultancy, and Urs Müller, who is the director, made last year an extensive, very scientific and very serious study about subsidiarity and the question if subsidiarity on a regional level, taken from the socio-economic policy, from this point of view, is this a way to success? Well, what it did is first, by Basel, they tried to make a decentralization index. I can't give you now, I have these studies here, you can find them on the internet.
It's on our website.
It's on our website. So you know it already. So the decentralization index is a very extensive and very good measure of how far a region has a decentralized power. And they did it by different regions, and they classified them. So you can see that, the most decentralized regions in Europe are the Swiss ones, and then comes the Belgian ones, and then Spain, and then Austria. So it's clear that there is a possibility to classify regions by the degree of their decentralized competences. Now, there are econometrists, so they like statistics and they like this type of figures. But beside the fact that they like it, you can also learn something from it. And when you see that the decentralization index, there, from 5 to 75, you remember Switzerland was somewhere. If this decentralization index, there is a correlation with the growth in the last 5 years where they have all the data about, then you see, in fact, that the most decentralized countries, according to the decentralization index, are also the countries where you have a very good economic growth. So it's not perfect, because, for instance, if you see Belgium and you see a little bit further France, it's about the same economic growth, but they are not the same on the same level of decentralization. So it's not a perfect correlation, correct? But there is a line. There is somewhere an indication that there is a correlation. See, this correlation is not perfect, but it is an indication, all right? is there a trade-off between centralization and decentralization? In other terms, can you go always further in an effort of decentralization? Well, there are limits. There are limits, and the first one is the spatial preferences. For instance, some regions have a cultural or another identity, and it can be interesting to decentralize it when it is very heterogeneous. For instance, in Belgium, you have two cultures, so it's not, from a logical point of view, that stupid to say there must be several different preferences. In that case, a decentralized policy is not a stupid one. If you have a very homogeneous country, such as France, it's understandable that you try to have a more centralized policy. Spatial externalities, if you can neglect them, then you don't have to decentralize. If you can neglect spatial externalities, and that's my point, for instance, if you have metropolitan areas where you have a lot of spillover, then you have to do something about this urban area as such. You cannot just let disappear this urban area in a whole country policy. Doesn't make sense. And the reason the economy of scale is if for some services there is no economy of scale. For instance, if you do it better in a city and in another city than in a federal level, if there is an economy of scale, you better do it on a central level. But if it's not the case, there is no reason for it on the contrary.